We're back with Justin Timberlake. It's time to play one of our favorite games, Burning Questions. I am going to read a question. You have to answer with the first thing that comes to your mind, and then, for no apparent reason, hit that.
Okay.
All right? What posters were on your bedroom walls growing up?
Michael Jordan.
What's going on, NBA fanatics? This is your friendly neighborhood Memphis Grizzly home of Memphis X, and I talk hoops. Training camp is about to open, so today we are going to talk about my 5 burning questions going into training camp. But first, every hero needs their theme music.
Piano. Grizz gang, go hard. Baddest in the game, we be on one. I talk hoops, so secure. All up on the court, but we gon' score. Memphis bringing heat, straight from Tennessee. Demo rest like an Escobar.
Well, if you're an NBA fanatic like me, this is one of the most exciting times of the year. You know, not including the playoffs and things like that and the draft. But this is the time that you've been waiting for a couple of months. You've been going through all this dry off-season talk. And finally, it's almost time for Media Day. And Media Day means training camp starts. And the great thing about the NBA is training camp starts and then preseason starts about a week, less than a week after. We have a real preseason game this Friday between the Warriors and the Wizards. So from here on, it's going to be a nice 8-month marathon of NBA basketball every night. Oh, I'm so excited. But with the training camps opening, the Grizzlies training camp starts this week. And for me, I have 5 burning questions that are going into this training camp that I hope training camp and the preseason can answer for the Grizzlies. The first question is, what rookie will step into the rotation? Now, we know that at the start of the season, most likely, Jaron Jackson is going to be out. And with Jaron Jackson being out, there is going to be an open spot in the 10-man rotation for a rookie at the beginning of the season. And, you know, even though there's going to be like a spot open, Taylor Jenkins likes to give rookies a chance to perform early in the season and in preseason. So my question is, which one will be given, or which one will have the opportunity to break into the rotation? Now, we have 3 rookies that I'm considering because Jaron Jackson is a forward and a center. So it's most likely going to be a forward that's going to get the opportunity. So I'm going with Jake LaRavia, David Roddy, or Kenny Lofton Jr. Now, Jake LaRavia provides a lot of spacing and some size and some passing and ball handling to go, you know, in the spot. Like, he has enough size to be able to play small forward and power forward. And he can provide some extra 3-point shooting that we're going to be missing without Jaron Jackson. David Roddy has the size and physicality. And like I put on my little graphic in the community page, he has the size of Jay Crowder, but he has a very, very diverse offensive game. He is able to do a lot of stuff off the dribble, and you saw in the summer league as he got more and more comfortable, his offensive game started to blossom. The question around him is his shooting from his last year in college his true shooting? Is that his true 3-point shooting, or is he more of what he was the first 2 years in college? Hopefully his 3-point shooting will translate and he will be able to help. The third candidate is the fan favorite, Kenny Lofton Jr. Now, I don't expect Kenny Lofton Jr., who's on a 2-way contract, to really have a chance to break into the lineup or the rotation as a rookie, but he really performed well this summer, and he is a very, very high-level offensive player. The key to him is, can he defend in the NBA? And that is an open question. So, preliminary, before I even get through the training camp, my answer to this question is David Roddy. I think he is going to have a chance to even break into the lineup as a starter, and I'll talk about that later with another one of my burning questions. But I think David Roddy has a diverse offensive game to give the Grizzlies some more oomph off the dribble that they have been lacking, that they are trying to get out of Zaire Williams. But we know that the Grizzlies need more creation, even with Zaire coming up. Between Ja Morant, Desmond's increased creation, Tyus Jones, Dillon Brooks, Zaire Williams, and now David Roddy, while Jaron's out, these guys can be creating their offense. And if David Roddy can somehow make his way and be able to man the power forward position on a nightly basis, I think he can go a long way to providing the floor spacing and the offensive punch the team is going to be missing from Jaron Jackson. Question number 2, what will Zaire Williams' second season look like? This one, I am more optimistic than probably most people. Now, I don't expect Zaire Williams to have a Desmond Bane-like breakout second season. I don't think he's going to get the opportunity with the minutes. I mean, I think his minutes are going to tick up to about the 22, 25-minute mark, and he will have a chance to be the sixth man on the team and provide this scoring punch off the bench long-term throughout the season. And he has an off chance of being able to man a starting position while Jaron Jackson is out, because he started some last season, even in the playoffs. I think Zaire Williams' second season is going to look a lot like his season did after the All-Star break. Real good scoring, about 14 to 15 points per 36 minutes. Effective shooting percentage because he's still going to be running the break. He's still going to be getting inside because he's a 6'10" wing. And I think his three-point shot is going to be much improved. And I think this season he's going to shoot 35 to 37% from three on an increased number of attempts per 100 possessions. And I think he's going to start looking like an effective 3-and-D player. I don't think you're going to see the creation blossom like most people are expecting. I think that's a work in progress. And I think it's about maybe 2 to 3 seasons away from bearing fruit, but the seeds have been planted. But I think he is going to be an effective 6th to 7th man, depending on, the Brandon Clark, Tyus Jones, Zaire Williams, as they're going to be the main guys off the bench, and how Taylor Jenkins plans to deploy him. The third question is, what will be the fate of the 3 veterans with expiring contracts? Dillon Brooks, Steven Adams, and Danny Green. Now, I don't expect any of them to get an extension. There's an off chance that maybe Steven Adams gets an extension, but I don't think the Grizzlies are going to extend him. I think the Grizzlies are going to wait and see about having some flexibility going into the season. I don't think any of these guys will be extended. I think all of these guys will play a very, very good role, except Danny Green, who probably won't be back until after the All-Star break. But I think Dillon Brooks and Steven Adams are going to have real good seasons. I think both of them are real invested into getting another pretty large contract, because I think Steven Adams, at worst, could probably get a mid-level exception deal long-term from a playoff team, a good playoff team, as he's proven to be an effective playoff player in certain situations. And I think Dillon Brooks is going to have a bounce-back season, coming into this season being in better shape than he was last year, coming into the season injured. And I think people are going to be very surprised about how well Dillon Brooks plays this year. And I expect Dillon Brooks to take fewer shots, be a little bit more efficient, and I think his defense is going to come back. And I think Steven Adams is going to give you more of what he gave you last season. I don't think he's going to change much as a player. I know people saw his summer workouts of him shooting three-pointers, but I don't expect him to be shooting three-pointers unless they're really going to try to play him with Brandon Clark a lot, but I don't expect him to shoot three-pointers, and I don't really want him to shoot three-pointers. Steven Adams is best used as a bull on the offensive boards, and that's what I love about him. So, and with Danny Green, I think it's going to depend on his rehab. If the Grizzlies think that he can get back to being an effective player by the playoffs, I think he will be on the team after the trade deadline. If they don't think his rehab is going well enough for him to be an effective player in the playoffs, I think you see them do some sort of trade with one of the teams that's going to disappoint this year, because there's like 11 teams in both conferences that are going to be trying to make the playoffs. And so a couple of those teams are going to disappoint. And I think the Grizzlies are going to try to be opportunistic by the trade deadline and bringing in some more help. I don't know where, but just bringing in some more help. My fourth question is, when will Jaron Jackson Jr. be ready to go? Now, this is an open question. Of course, the Grizzlies had him out 4 to 6 months. The low end would have him back around the 1st of November, the high end around Christmas time. My prediction is that Jaron Jackson will probably be back sometime around early November. I don't think he's going to miss too many games, and I think they're going to bring him back in early November and bring him along slowly. And I think by the end of November, he's going to be going full force. Now, I wouldn't be, Jaron Jackson he hasn't been in the boot for a couple of, I think about a week or two, or it's been a week or two and people have seen him without the boot. He's been doing some light stuff. Of course, he's been doing his rehab work. So we don't know exactly what's going on, and we won't know until media day, when Memphis's media gets to ask the hard questions about what's going on with Jaron Jackson. And I expect the Grizzlies to be a little bit more forthcoming regarding Jaron Jackson's rehab and his return to play date during the media day. But the proof is in the pudding. Training camp is just a week long. So, like I said, I don't expect him to play any in the preseason. I would be shocked if he did play in the preseason, but I would be happy if he did. But yeah, I look for Jaron to come back early November. My fifth and final burning question for the Grizzlies training camp in 2022 is, can Brandon Clark hold it down? Now, this question has a lot of implications. Mainly it is, can Brandon Clark man the power forward position while Jaron Jackson is still rehabbing? Now, my inkling is that Taylor Jenkins is going to do the coaching thing. And the coaching thing that I'm talking about is he is going to keep Brandon Clark as the reserve big and bring one of the younger guys in to start, either Zaire Williams, Santi Aldama, David Roddy, Jake LaRavia. One of those guys will get to start and play with the starters and let them get comfortable with the starters and, be able to play with Ja and Desmond and Dylan and Steven Adams and let them, have an easier transition. And Brandon Clark will be the first guy off the bench and play a lot of minutes. That is my inkling. And I think Brandon Clark is going to be very, very effective, even if he starts. I know people have these flashbacks of Brandon Clark starting as a rookie, but I think if he starts this year, I think he's going to be very, very effective. Also, regarding this question is Brandon Clark's extension. Now, I'm not sure if Brandon Clark's going to get extended. I know Zach Lowe said he has an inkling. He's heard rumblings that Brandon Clark's got an extension coming, but I don't know. I personally would be disappointed if the Grizzlies extended Brandon Clark, not because I don't like Brandon Clark as a player, but I would like the Grizzlies to keep their flexibility going into the offseason and throughout the trade deadline as far as being able to make trades. I want them to be as flexible as possible because I think there's going to be an opportunity to snipe a very good player between December and the trade deadline and bring somebody that can really, really help this team bring home a championship. Not that Brandon Clark can't do it, but I want them to have the opportunity just in case Brandon Clark has to be a piece that they use in a trade. Now, what kind of contract would I want Brandon Clark to have? Probably something around the 15 to 17 million per season mark. Maybe a little bit lower. You got to remember, I think it's hard to tell because it's hard to go with these economics because NBA teams have a better idea of what the cap is going to be down the line. That's why you're going to see a lot of extensions flying off in the next year. A lot of extensions are going to fly off because they are playing with funny money right now. Whatever extension they sign right now, between now and the next TV deal, is going to seem minuscule later on. So getting somebody young and in their prime or just now entering their prime into a long-term deal based on today's salary cap is going to be a bargain. See Jaron Jackson Jr.'s contract. So I think Brandon Clark, I don't think he's going to get extended. And I think he's going to have a bananas year. Now, it might cost the Grizzlies a lot of money to not extend him. So it's a hard call because these things have a tendency to fly off the handle. With restricted free agents, all it takes is one team to love him next offseason, and boom, you're staring at a $25, $30 million contract for Brandon Clark, and you end up losing him for nothing, or you got an overpaid player. So that is my fifth burning question. Give me your burning question for Grizzlies training camp, going into it fresh, knowing nothing about what's going on. What camp battles are you interested in? What rookies are you interested in? What young players, Zaire Williams, Santi Aldama, Xavier Tillman, Desmond Bane. What young players are you interested in? Well, the Grizzlies' whole team is young, but you know what I mean. And what do you look forward to seeing in the preseason? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Like this video. Subscribe to my channel, and I will see you tomorrow with the next video.